Hi there, welcome to Career TV. I'm Monique Bradley and today I'm in the studio with career guru Caroline Sanford from Love Your Career. How are you going?
I'm going very well. Thanks, Monique.
Excellent. So today you're sharing tools around helping people find a career they truly love. Is that right?
Absolutely. And so this episode is our second episode and it's all about exploring your options. So last week we talked about, knowing yourself better.
Yes.
And this is all about, well, what do you do with that information? So it's
such a good stage in this journey. And have you got handouts with this episode as well?
Yes, I have a couple of handouts. So anyone that has registered will have received those handouts and we'll go through them when they're appropriate.
Excellent. Right, let's get started.
Okay, so I just want to turn to the first slide and just to refresh where we've come from. So this, of course, is about exploring your options. But just to recap, we've looked at last session about your values, your interests and your strengths. So understanding what is important to you, what areas you're attracted to, what do you really enjoy and what you're good at. So they're both those things. And also there's maybe you've identified some potential for development. For home tasks, you looked at really trying to clarify what your values were, what do they mean to you,
Yep.
and really assess whether they're met at the moment. And what does that mean? Like what does an organisation or a job look like that may meet those values?
Excellent. Now, if you haven't had a chance to fill in those forms from the last episode, I highly recommend that you do that. They are absolutely life-changing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the whole point of all of this is using this information now to explore your options. So that's what we're going to do today.
Excellent.
So it's taking that information. So I really encourage, if you haven't, as Monique said, do that information because this is what you need to take it forward. So and the one thing that, I found I've worked with many, many clients is sometimes they do this first stage and then they think, I know kind of what I'm doing. What's so important though is finding out the reality. So going back, exploring your options and finding out the reality of what you're thinking is so, so important, just as important.
So is that a little bit like doing market research, for example, and seeing if a job that you really is your dream job, if it actually exists?
And
Yes.
you can read everything on the internet, but the reality, it can be quite different. Or you know something from your family or your friends, you ask your questions, what do you think about this? And they know this much, but it's actually going back and saying, okay, that's really interesting, but I need to find out the reality. What really is happening? What does that job actually look like? Is it going to meet who I am?
That is awesome. That's great stuff.
So it leads on to my next slide, which kind of just reminder of the career planning process. Now we've looked at that, knowing yourself and your value. What we're concentrating today is about exploring your options. And you can see there's quite a list there.
Yeah.
Online research, informational interviewing, market research, which you talked about.
Yes.
Networking, gaining experience, job shadowing, joining an industry group. So I'm going to go through these, some in more detail than others, but I'm going to give you an insight into actually what it takes to actually find out the reality of whether what you have identified for yourself is going to meet who you are.
Brilliant.
So let's just start with the online. Now the good old online and, good old Google, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with.
Yes.
It's our friend.
Yes.
It really is our friend when we're looking at possibilities. You can plug in, maybe you want to be a teacher or you might want to, look at being in marketing or something like that. And you can find out quite a lot of information by just putting that sort of information and where you are, what's available.
Excellent.
A website that anyone that's been at high school maybe in the last 15 years will know about is careers.govt.nz. And the particular place that I'm going to direct you to is about the jobs database. This is hugely important. Now, some of the people who have been at school, it might have been rammed down your throat a little bit. And, you think, oh, no, not that site. Because it's got a lot of information. I'm going to take you through and show you how you can use it to your best advantage.
That's amazing. When I was at college, that didn't exist.
Nothing like, and it's got like 400 different jobs. The information about jobs online.
Mind you, when I was at college, the internet didn't exist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, same here. Whoops,
amazing.
Showing our age.
I know, right?
Company websites also a really good place to get information. So most companies now have a website. So go and find out. Go and do some research. You can find out who is, the key players there. They might have an organisational chart. You might need to talk to. They might tell you what's happening in the market, what's happening in their industry. And if anyone, this is just a tip, who's going for a job interview, this is non-negotiable. You have to go and do the research on the company website.
I totally agree.
Find out what they're all about.
And what I've noticed too, even in my industry, so film and television, some of the companies that are out there are actually doing their own job listings.
Yes,
So
exactly.
there's a little bit of a hidden job market right there that nobody talks about.
Yep, so going directly to the source is really important. And the last one, looking online, is industry group websites. Now, that's kind of, what do I mean by that? And I want to show you, this is just I've decided, let's think I might want to get into marketing. So here we go, we've got a marketing association. So most industries or professions have a association or an institute that represents them. And this is a wonderful place to get a huge amount of information. So it has information on qualifications, on events, services, they have networking events. If you look on the right-hand side, it's got things like the brainy breakfast, the digital day out, all sorts of events that you might want to attend or might be able to. And also, as you can see at the top on the right-hand side, the direct marketing conference. Maybe you identify, I quite like that idea. You might be able to attend. Nothing better than rubbing shoulders with people that you might want to work for.
That's true. Or, learning from the people who are success stories. How wonderful. I didn't know this existed.
Yeah. So, this is a really good first step. And I'm going to say first step all the way along, because digital looking online is very much, you get to see a very standard representation rather than actually, the nuts and bolts, actually what happens.
Right.
So I said I was going to talk a little bit more about the careers site, and this is run, you can see the government, by Careers New Zealand. This is the homepage, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of content here, but the third one, the one in pink, jobs database, is where I'd like you to put your energy in when you're looking at jobs. As I said, it's got 400 plus jobs online. So I'm going to take you through an example. Let's say I want to be a chef.
Fabulous.
Okay, so I plug in the word chef, and this is what I get. I get information about pay, job opportunities, and length of training. But there's a huge amount of more information there. Let's say when I've done those exercises on myself, I found my top 3 values might be balance, comfortable income, and teamwork.
Yes.
As an example. So I'm going to look at this particular possibility with those in mind. So I look about the job and I can see, okay, so great opportunities to get a job. And I look at the pay and go, okay, so I want a comfortable income. Now, I have need to figure out what that means, but maybe my comfortable income is $49 per hour, so I'm going to have to be an executive chef to get to that stage. So, this gives you the really good information to figure out where it's going to meet you.
Wow.
Talks about what you'll do, possibly if you're a chef, the skills and knowledge that you'll need. The working conditions, it interviews people who are actually in the job, so it gives a taste of reality. And then it talks about entry requirements and how you can actually get into the job. So if we want to look at the working conditions, it goes there, usually works long hours and includes evening and weekends. And I think, okay, so balance is my value. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get balance if I become a chef. That's interesting.
Incredible. I never thought about approaching it from that perspective.
So this is why it's really clear to get that understanding about what you need before you do this step. Yeah. So you have a really clear understanding of what you're looking for. And then it goes, personal requirements, and it goes, able to work in a team, and teamwork, of course, is something that I value. So I'm thinking, okay, a couple of those things are met maybe, and maybe not. So it gives me some interesting things to think about. So you can see it's got a huge amount of information. And the other thing is, maybe I've read through this and I've thought, I don't really want to be a chef, but I really want to work with food. So the wonderful thing about this site is it talks about related jobs. So it goes into other things that may be related to that.
That is absolutely brilliant. What a great resource.
Yeah, so you can find out possibilities that aren't chef, but chef might have been the starting place.
So somebody who, say, wants a bit more balance and they love the teamwork, but they don't necessarily want to be out the back, they want to be out the front, they'd be better to be, say, a restaurant manager or a maitre d'.
Absolutely.
So they're connecting, they're forward-facing, there's a lot of people contact.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody who wants to be out the back and they're very process-minded, they might want to do something like being a baker, because you have to follow the steps, particularly if you're a bread maker. Yes. Just saying.
So this is right. So it's really essential to get that first thing of knowing what you're looking for, and then to do the research to figure out whether it's actually going to fit you or not.
That is fantastic. It makes it so much easier because then your values and your skills and expertise or your opportunity for training all kind of match up and you'll end up doing something you love.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Perfect.
I love what I'm all about. So
so
this is all about finding something that you love and using all of this stuff to get there. So as I said, this is the starting point, like looking online, fantastic, really good place to start. Find a huge amount of information. And for some of us who don't like maybe, meeting new people is a bit harder, this is wonderful. So put your energy into this. But this does not stop here. The next stage is all about informational interviewing. Now, when I say informational interviewing, what comes to mind for you?
Informational interviewing. Information means doing a bit of research.
Yep.
Interviewing is usually people-facing, so would it be going through a test interview maybe?
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I'm all about talking, so that's what I would have thought.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bit more basic than that, I think.
Oh, wow.
So good strategy there. But informational interviewing is basically interviewing for information.
Okay.
So not the testing bit,
Yep.
but it's actually talking to people to figure out whether this is what you want. So it's going to the source of people who are actually in the job or in the industry or in the occupation that you're interested in. So they're the people doing the job you want.
I wish I had have known this sort of strategy years and years ago
know.
because I fell into the wrong jobs for years. I wish I knew that. I never thought to do that.
Yeah, and most people don't, and so this is why that first stage is great, but this is just as great. And so the people who are doing the job have the information you need to know. They really can answer whether this is going to be what you want and also how to get into the area. We find these people through our connections, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about. And also it's really what we need to do, to do the due diligence to find out really, is this what I want to do? Is we ask questions around, is it in line with your values, the strengths and interests that we've identified?
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so this is a very powerful thing, and it can be a very, very scary thing for some people. So the whole point of informational interviewing is finding out the information you need about a particular job, industry or company, whether you'd like it, and what would be required to get into the job. So, I have people sometimes saying to me, should I do this course or this course? Now, they may look just as good as one another, but one of them might have be really practical. And so an employer will be wanting that person who's gone to that place to actually learn it. You can't get that information from the internet, but if you go to an employer or someone who's in the job and ask them the questions like, what type of training would you be looking for? And they may go, definitely go to this place.
Wow. So before you even go for the job, you ask the people in the role where you're going to get the best training.
Absolutely, because they're the ones that know what people come out with. So, or they might say, well, actually, you don't need to do training, you can do training on the job. And that's another really wonderful thing, as opposed to thinking I have to go and learn this before I become this person or get into this job. It's finding out whether you actually need to do that. You don't always need to get training outside. You can get training within the actual work.
And also particularly say for people who might have had families and are going back into the workforce, they have a huge body of lived experience as well.
Absolutely.
And I know those are transferable skills. That's what you call them, right?
Yes.
So being able to take that, so you may not have the specific qualifications for the role, but your lived experience counts as a qualification.
Yeah. So a really good example of that, and I was going to talk about it in a little while, but I'm going to talk about it now because I think it's really relevant, is my husband.
Yes.
We moved cities and we moved up and we bought a house before we had, I was home with the kids and before he had a job. So we had a mortgage, but no income.
Oh my goodness.
No,
it's a bit of a stress.
Not a good thing to do. But anyway, a lot of stress, absolutely. And however, he sort of thought, okay, I'm going to tap into my networks, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more about networking. But what he did is he got an opportunity to go to talk to somebody who thought the job was there, they needed a particular qualification, he didn't have it. So that he went to talk to them anyway, to maybe they could refer him to somebody else. And it ended up being that they went, wow, you're the perfect person for the job. You've got the right experience, the right skills, we want you. How about we employ you, but you go and get this qualification?
That's incredible.
I know. And so if he'd just looked at it online, or just gone to a recruiter, they would not have put him forward. So this is the wonderful thing about, tapping in and going to the people who are doing the jobs you're thinking of, or to the sources, so that you can they get to see you, because you might be the perfect person, but unless they get to see you, they don't know.
They don't know.
And neither
do you.
That's
incredible. What a great story as well.
Yeah, no, and good ending. So, so it's informational interviewing is all about finding the reality of making the move in a particular area before taking the jump, and making contacts that may lead to a job in the future. So the whole thing about contacts is, they might not have a job there or tomorrow, but they may have one coming up next week, or someone suddenly resigns, or they've got a project coming. Unless they know about you, how are they going to think of you, of being the right person for that?
So you do have to be a bit tenacious, and you have to really get out there, but you have to be hungry for the job, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, this does take effort, and I think, so I just, I talked about networking, and I want to just tell you a little bit more about networking and the definition, because it's a scary thing. And I like to call networking a bit more about relationship building.
Yes. Because
some people are going, oh, no way am I going to do networking. This is about relationship building in the way that's right for you. So networking is about interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional and social contacts. So I really want to emphasize that word exchange. It's a two-way street. So just because you're maybe asking to, can I come and have a coffee with you, or, whatever it may be, can I come meet with you? It doesn't mean that they're not going to get something out of it as well.
Right, okay.
So like I just said, you might be the right person for them, or you might, there might be something that you can offer. Yes. And unless you allow them to see you, that you don't give them that opportunity.
Gotcha. Excellent. Yeah. So it is two-way. I've always thought of networking as, you're out there trying to sell yourself as much as possible, but it's amazing that exchange and what you can actually get from that.
I think the one thing too, you're absolutely right about that, and that people who are more introverted, I suppose, this is a very scary concept. When I'm sort of saying go out there and network, but what it is really important to do in a way that's right for them. So for maybe it's starting with an email exchange and then meeting a coffee. It's not necessarily turning up and meeting a whole lot of new people all at once.
Yes, even I find that quite scary, and I am an extrovert. I find that a real challenge, whereas if there's an online introduction first, it just makes the whole thing a whole lot easier. I totally agree.
And so I'm going to take you a little bit more about how to network.
Great.
And to really, it is going to be through, I said networking, it's all about going through your connections. And this is the best way. So it's not doing like, I'm going to go cold calling.
Oh.
No. We all hate that.
No,
we
it's
all
awful.
hate that.
Yeah.
But what it is going, okay, I might know somebody who is close to me that maybe they can introduce me, or maybe I can talk to them.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to show you a networking map, and I've sent you this. So this is a template for you. And it's looking about how we actually network. So networking map is the first stage. So putting yourself in the middle, that's me, okay? And then thinking about what are the categories in my life. So I've got friends, I go to work, or I've got past, if you're not working, maybe past work, family, sports. I might put hobbies in there as well, school or university or a training course I might have been on, neighbours. Church, there's lots of different categories that we all are part of, networking groups. So first of all, it's identifying what are those headings, and then the whole idea is brainstorming who are under these categories without any judgment of whether they can help us.
Okay.
So it's like picking one of them and going, who are all my friends, brainstorming them, and then thinking who are their partners, where do they work?
Oh, that's clever.
Not thinking of whether they can help me, because that's not part of what this is all about. It's about getting everybody in your life first up, and then figuring it out. So I'm going to take you through an example of me. So this is me, and I've chosen my family. Now, this is just a very small slice of my family, and I'll tell you, but I just want to show you. So I've got my husband and my son and my daughter, her partner, my brother, he had a first partner, they had 2 children, all working, second partner. So you can see it really develops. Mother, father, I've got an aunt and uncle, and a cousin, and their partner. So I've given you ones, but I've actually got 14 cousins. and they've got partners,
wow.
and some of them have got children who are working. So this list in one category can be absolutely huge. And I've got other aunts and uncles and all sorts of things. So you can see how many people we have. And if we think about the types of roles they have. So my husband is an accountant in the finance industry. Now you might want to actually put where they work. So I've just used the general industry. My son's in marketing and sports. My daughter works in policy in the government. Her partner's an agent in real estate.
Wow.
Teacher, secondary school, retail assistant, youth worker in a not-for-profit, quantity surveyor, logistics and manufacturing industry, educational advisor, small business owner, artist, mechanic, graphic designer, financial advisor. So
that's incredible.
So you can see these people have such diversity. So as a starting point, I've made no judgment of whether they can help me, but I've got this list of amazing different contacts in a range of different industries.
I have never, ever considered doing that. That's mind-blowing across a huge variety of industry. That's just incredible.
It is, isn't it? So we have so much power in our own network this is a slice of my family. I didn't even touch the other categories. So you can imagine I might have pages and pages of people. And we all have so many networks, so many people in our network that can help us. So
yes.
When we've done this, then we can go back and go, okay, so I was quite interested in maybe let's think of a possibility. I quite like the idea of working in the finance industry, but I don't want to be an accountant. Okay, but I like the finance industry, because I quite like numbers. But maybe my husband could put me in touch with somebody who I could talk to find out a little bit more.
True.
So I don't need to talk to him necessarily, but he could be my lead or my referrer. Or maybe I really like logistics, but I don't really want to work in manufacturing. But I can really find out about logistics a little bit more to see whether it's something I want to do.
Wow.
So this is our really close network, and then all these people have their own network. So every one of these people have their own workmates, their own hobbies, all of those sort of things. They live in different places, they have their own neighbours. So you can imagine how if you go one more beyond, how many other people you can access.
It's like a career family tree, isn't it?
That's a really good way of putting it. So this isn't scary because we know these people. We can talk to these people. We can access them really easily. We don't have to go to random people that we don't know.
That's so true. And what I learnt from being a TV presenter for a shopping channel is that when we develop relationships with the people watching, this is what I learnt from my experience, you are effectively selling on the recommendation of a friend, or you're buying from a friend. So essentially, if you're getting a connection through a friend, a referral in this instance, it's going to be more valuable. It's because it's one trusted friend talking to another trusted friend, referring somebody who could be right for a role, or it's just a great connection in a really authentic way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not. And I think the thing people think, but isn't it using people? I hear that sometimes people feel like I just feel a bit funny, but if you think someone approached you, you'd be more than happy to talk about what you do.
Of course.
Most people, I'm not going to say 100% because some people aren't, most people are really, really want to help people and give them information. And what we're talking about is not saying, okay, I'm going to give you a job. We're researching. Remember, this is all about research.
That's true.
It's not saying, I want a job. I'm trying to figure it out. So this is a way of thinking about it. I am researching several occupations to see if they would be right for me. One of the occupations I'm looking at is, so if we just go to the slide, and this is an example of how you might start it. And it might be, so you're looking at, let's say, what would you like to look at, Monique?
I like marketing.
Okay, so marketing. Would you be able to make a time, so this might be a person that's in marketing, time to find out, would you be able to make a time to talk to me, so I can find out a little bit more about what you do. I got that a little bit wrong. So
that's fine.
And so it's so you can talk directly to those people.
Yes.
Or it might be, could you refer me to someone in the marketing department?
Yes.
So that I can find out more. Or it might be, do you know anyone who works in marketing, or who works as a marketing assistant,
yes.
or who would know someone or of anyone who is a marketing assistant or manager?
Yes.
Would you mind referring me to them so I can find out more?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's, it's not, sometimes the direct person, it might be getting a referral, or it might be asking them if they know somebody who knows somebody, and can you refer me? So it's just trying to find the link. So people often say, oh, well, I don't know anyone's in that space, but other people will know. And so it's tapping into that is what's really important.
And I think also going through our friends and our family, I mean, normally they want to help you out. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and it's also most people, you know, if you ask for advice, if I come up and say, I'd love to get into broadcasting, Monique, you know, can I tap your, you know, get your advice on how you recommend I do that?
Perfect. Yeah. And I would say, yes, let's have a coffee.
Absolutely. So it's
easy.
You're not, again, it's not saying I want a job, I'm finding out information. And so I've got some examples of some questions that you might ask. Could you describe what you do on a day-to-day basis? You know, what are the main tasks? So finding out the day-to-day stuff. This is really trying to get to the reality of what they do. What are the things that you most like about your work? So, okay, now I get my list of values and my strengths and my interests. Are they going to be met in this space? Which parts of the jobs do you find most challenging? In other words, what don't you like? So tell me the reality. Right. I don't want to just look at all the good stuff. I want to know the bad stuff as well and why. And then you might hear, okay, so you have to work long hours and I'm behind a desk the whole time.
And that doesn't align with my values.
That's right.
Gotcha.
So it's going back to that. In what way is the occupation changing? So this is the way to really tap into what the market is doing your market research. So what is actually going on? Are you under threat of being taken over?
Or automation taking over your job.
Absolutely. Are you downsizing? Are you growing? What's happening? So finding out from the people on the ground is the best way. How do most people get into this field? So, you know, this is again, like, do I need to go and get a piece of paper? Do I need to go and get qualified? Do I need to know the right people? Do I apply for jobs that are advertised along with 100 other people?
Yeah, that's true.
But the wonderful thing about this is you get to know people. So to enter this occupation, what do you recommend as my next step? So asking them, well, you know, I'm really keen. What would you recommend? Would you mind having a look at my CV? Is there someone you recommend I talk to maybe in the organisation? Can you put me in touch with that person so they can get to know me? Or
great.
Or have you got some part-time work or a project I can get involved in?
Yes.
You know,
or even one young lady that I know, she said, hey, look, can I come and intern with you? Well, she's doing a great job and she's really proving herself and her understanding of what we're doing. So it's been a great way for her to start. And once she finishes her studies, look, you know, if she keeps doing a great job, hopefully there'll be a job here for her.
Right. So, you know, exactly right. So sometimes it's doing stuff for free, which is like, you know, that volunteering, and we don't always have the option to do that because we have to earn, you know, full-time living, but if we do, we can. You know, and it can be things being very creative about that maybe you want to get into youth work, but you need some experience, you know, or social work. So getting trained as a youth line
counsellor.
Yes, it's at night or in the weekend. Mm-hmm. You know, you get great training, you're getting great exposure. You know, it makes you really, really marketable for the type of career that you want to go down.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So this just as a summary about what networking and informational interviewing and the advantages, it's about finding out about whether this job would suit you, finding out the current market, be able to meet and build relationships with people who might give you an opportunity. You find out about possibilities that you've never thought of. Now, this is one thing I haven't said yet, is when you're talking to people, they say, well, we're going to be looking for something, or we're developing a position. You know, it's brand new. We're just talking about it.
Right.
But I can see that you might be
a good fit for that role.
Good fit. You know, it's brand new.
Excellent.
Yeah. Or someone's about to resign, or things like that.
Or go on leave for pregnancy, for example, and there could be a year-long contract.
Yeah, and you know the reality is that employers like to recruit people they know something about. You know, that is their preferred way to recruit. So if you get to know people, you're in the running, as opposed to applying with, as I said 100, and that's a really optimistic view of how many people apply for jobs, 200, 400 for jobs. How can you ever shine? If you actually get to meet somebody in person, they get to know you.
Excellent.
If you get the opportunity of showing your work, you know, you've got, you know, the foot in the door. So
perfect. That's what we like.
Yeah. So you can take advantage of a possible project, a resignation or temp role coming up, which we talked about, and you become clearer about what you want to do.
Love
it.
So,
you know, which is what this is all about, is finding out whether the reality and whether it's what you want.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Now, if you do have any questions at all, and if anything's resonated with you, you are welcome to send Caroline an email as well. If you've got any questions about any of this content, you can email her directly at caroline@loveyourcareer.co.nz.
Yes, that's
Very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm loving this content. It's even for somebody like me who's been self-employed for 20 years. Even, for my mindset, these tips are really great. Activating and utilising your network in a non-icky way. In a non-icky way. These are great points, and having the strategies of those questions is incredibly valuable. I hope that something there has resonated for you as well.
Yeah, me too. Okay, and this is really powerful stuff. Like people who do this, it works for them. Like my clients, when they do this, it's like they create opportunities for themselves. So trust me.
Yeah, love it.
Okay, so the last part I want to talk about, well, nearly the last, is about gaining experience. Now, this is not always easy to do, if you're working in a job and you're looking for a different thing. But I've talked about, if you want to get into youth work, there's a way to do that. But, a good way of like temping, so you think, I quite like the sound of this, but I'm not sure, or I'm not quite sure what organisation. Temping is a fantastic way for you to get exposed to lots of different organisations, different possibilities. The wonderful thing about temping is when you're in the door, like I said, employers like to know who they're employing, so you become known as a temp.
Great.
So it's you have got the in running if everything comes.
To a certain extent in my industry, film and television and broadcasting, the more auditions we go on, the more the casting directors get to know you and they know your strengths. So it's kind of a similar thing.
Absolutely, yep, that's right.
It's a bit of an audition when you're temping.
Exactly right, and you get to prove yourself. And a big part of this is about, and I'm going to be talking about in the next session, is about building your reputation. So, you can get your piece of paper and everything, but you need to build your reputation in your industry for people to know you and trust you.
Yes.
So project work again is a fantastic way to get experience. Vacation work. So if you're at school still or at university and you're looking for a vacation job, go for something that you're thinking about you want to do. Don't do something random if this is a possibility. So tap into your network and ask your parents or your friends parents or I'd quite like to get into, I really like the idea of medicine, but I just want to learn a little bit about it. Now, that's sometimes a hard one to get experience at, but maybe you could work in the receptionist at the local doctors, or, you could either get it as a paid job or you could get it as a voluntary role.
Yes.
But just getting exposure is what I'm saying. So the more you expose yourself to the industry, the more you're going to understand whether it's what you want to do.
Perfect.
So as much as you can do is the best thing. Part-time, I really advocate for anyone, school onwards, to get part-time work, because it not only gives you employability skills, which everyone needs, I think it's underrated, and it's employers are going, I need this person to be work ready, many people aren't, but it also gives you the exposure to different things, to figure out whether that's what you want to do, to whether you actually want to work with people or not, and all of that sort of thing. Job shadowing. Now, this is something I mentioned at the very beginning, and job shadowing is about just watching someone do what they're doing. Right. So you might just be a shadow for them for a day, and you're just observing. So it's sometimes a less threatening way that people can bring people into work. So they don't have to employ you, they don't have to necessarily keep you busy. You just watch what they do, and you might be able to ask questions. So that's just a very non-threatening way of doing it. And good old volunteering is the one that I think more and more people are asking for that, like people are wanting interns.
Yes.
My son's been doing an internship for free, which is, that's a hard thing, and you have to earn money as well, but sometimes that's just what it takes to get into the industry that you want to get into. So anything you can do volunteering, it builds your reputation in a way that people don't have to pay you, so therefore they're more likely to take you on.
Yes.
Yeah. So
great stuff.
Okay, so and lastly, which I started also, is what really is important, once you figure out the place you want to be, is to join a professional association. Now, most associations will have a membership that's a subscriber or a student rate, so it won't be big money. And you can get access to all their information. You can get they'll have an e-newsletter. but you can find out their qualifications. But they also have a lot of professional development opportunities, which are, when you're a member, you can actually access. And when you're doing that, you're rubbing shoulders with people who are going to be a possible employer. You can find out a little bit more about it. It's all about that reputation again. It's also, if they have regular meetings, and most of them do, most of these organisations or associations are run by volunteers. So if you can volunteer, and this is a tip, a big tip, if you can volunteer your time for free to organise something, saying, okay, I'd love to go on your committee, or have you got an event coming up that you need a hand with? And people go, oh yes, please. I'll organise the catering, or I'll organise whatever. So you become known. So by volunteering, you become known to these people in such an easy way without anything else, because you're giving something of yourself, but you're able to get something as well.
Great. I love it. Yeah. It's fantastic. Such a good idea. Great tip there.
Thank you. So just to summarise everything that I've talked about this morning is researching online, really good first step. So can I underline first step, because it's not where I want you to stop. It's a great place to get some information, but you need to go out and you need to talk to people. Build your networking map. That's a wonderful thing to use for this, but also for when you're looking for work, from the future, and then build your network, so who else can I actually add to my network to have a conversation with. Gain experience where you can, get exposed, build your reputation, and joining a professional association is a really key thing if you decided where you want to be.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So one thing I'm going to ask you to do, I've sent you a summary. I'm just going to, if I put this up to the camera. So this is the sheet I sent you, which is about planning your action. So what I want you to do is to write down, I've given you 4 gaps here, but I just want you to start with 2. And what are the 2 things you're going to do straight away to begin your research towards where you want to be? What do you need to make this happen? So what resources, like is it contacts, is it time, is it information, or access to the internet maybe?
Yes, of course.
Or when are you going to do these by? So commit to actually moving forward towards researching, towards where you want to be. So I'm just going to give you a couple of moments just to write that down. Okay, and you can work on that. As I said, there's 2. I've asked you to commit to 2 things, but you can commit to 2 more. I dare you. Okay, so and lastly, just any questions. As Monique said, my email address caroline@loveyourcareer.co.nz. I welcome any questions that you have.
This has been mind-blowing, Caroline. Your content is amazing. And remember too, when you head to the loveyourcareer.co.nz website, you can also have a look through the other services that Caroline offers. So if this has really piqued your interest, but you're struggling and you think, look, maybe I want to actually do a one-on-one with Caroline, all the details are there. You can get in contact with her and book a one-on-one session. However, do make sure you review the last episode as well, just in case you've missed anything. Do your homework for this session.
Absolutely.
And we have another session coming up which gives you even more details that I think are really going to help give you some clarity and help you find a career you love. This has been really amazing, Caroline.
Great.
Really
I'm pleased you enjoyed it. And the next episode is all pulling it together. It's all about planning your action. So I'm going to give you some really good tools about actually putting this into action. So this is kind of like we've done, know ourselves.
The preparatory work.
Yeah, the research, and now it's like, how can I make this happen? What do I need to know? How can I change my current working situation? All that sort of thing.
Excellent. So looking forward to it. Thank you again for joining us and for being part of this program. We love working with you. And remember, if you do have any questions, email caroline@loveyourcareer.co.nz. We'll see you for the next episode. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you. See you.